Good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce our panel of guests to you. We have got Dr. Leo Igwe from the Humanist Society of Nigeria, and he is going to give us a rundown of all the projects that they've been working on. And as well as Dr. Igwe, we've also got Esther, the Afro Humanist, and Bolelang is an acquaintance of ours from South Africa. Good evening, guys. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good. I'm very honored to be here.
Yeah. So I guess we should start with Dr. Igwe. If you could just you give us a brief background of yourself and the work that you do with Humanist International.
Oh yes, yes. Thank you so much for organizing this and giving us another platform to exchange ideas. Yes, I was born in southeastern Nigeria. It's a Christian-dominated section of the country, and I was an altar boy. Then I later went to the Catholic seminary where I trained to be a priest, and after some time I left. I left the program and then started the Humanist Association, and that was in 1996. And since then I have been active in various locally and internationally at Atheist Alliance International, Humanist International, Center for Inquiry, and all that. So I've been actively working to promote humanism, theism, free thought. It's not just because I just want to promote these ideas, but because in the region, they hold a lot of promise in terms of some of the challenges we face. So at the moment, I'm in the board of Humanist International. I'm also leading the campaign for the release of Mubarak. I'm also directing an advocacy campaign against witch persecution in the region. And also working to promote critical thinking. I'm particularly interested in critical thinking in primary schools. Yes, primary schools. Yeah. That's my focus now and all that, because I think that that's where we get it, so wrong, and that's why some of the challenges we are facing today is because of that faulty foundations. So this is just a general overview of my preoccupation at the moment, and I think I will elaborate in the course of the discussion.
Amazing, yes. Yeah, the reason why I wanted to have this discussion is because we are always told here in South Africa that atheism is un-African, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that concept, because I have encountered African atheists all over the continent, and it's such a how can I say. There is definitely a spiritual element to African culture that always gets hijacked, by religion, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, the thing is that human beings have always tried to explain the order, and I think the African society is or African people where people are. This is how they behave. This is what they believe. Okay, so unlike us, we are secular, or we are rational. Lives in your part of the world. The Archbishop of Canterbury lives there. The so-called Holy Lands and all that, the Holy Spirit, the Virgin. We have the people who say that secular is actually as religious, and they have also all those religious stupidities they try to promote across the world. They still have them, but there's this explanation that but for Africans, they're magical in thinking, they're theistic and all that. So now they have succeeded over the years in not just legitimizing these misexplanations, these misrepresentations, but also getting Africans to internalize them. There's a lot of Africans now see themselves that way, so that even when you try to present other aspects of the African, see that stereotypic notion of African as magical in thinking, godly, religious, supernaturalistic, but is a misrepresentation. So as far as I am concerned, I think that atheism is as un-African as is un-American, un-Asian, un-Australian. It's also as African as it is American, Asian, and Australian. And immediately you depart from this, you have an interest to pursue. And that is the interest that is actually responsible for the problems and challenges we are having today, especially in the presentation and representation of Africa. So what am I saying? Yes, in Africa, there are atheists, there are theists. And don't forget, we are all born without all these beliefs. Yes, every person is born without a belief, without a language. It's only as you are growing up, you begin to say, oh, you believe in God, you believe in this. And sometimes it's because of where you grow up. I grew up in a Christian-dominated area. Yeah, I was brought up a Christian. My parents grew up traditional, religious, in the traditional religion. Who we are is about how we are brought up. Okay, so that is why that stereotypic representation of atheism as un-African is grossly mistaken. And in the course of our conversation, you will see how it serves the purpose of those who want to use it, either to legitimize their own idea of what African is and all that. So atheism is as African as it is American, European, Asian, or Australian.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. You know what I always find very interesting is that religion tries to hijack morality from people. You know, as we as a society, we don't need. You can go to any society on the planet. You know, they have an inbuilt sense of right and wrong, and it's part of just being a human being. You know what what harms you. Is not something that you would want to perpetrate on your fellow man, because you have an intimate experience of it. And I think our morality comes from that. But, in steps religion, and they just hijack this whole concept. You can only be good if you have some supernatural supervision, and I always find that very interesting, especially from the religious camps. They'll ask us, like, how can you be moral? Where do you get your morality from? And it's such an obvious answer that morality comes from societies, because it differs from society to society. The same morality that you'll find in a European city is not the same morality that you'll find in a village in Central Africa.
Yeah, the thing is this: we have to understand that religion always seeks to legitimize itself. Yes, it wants to make itself acceptable. It wants to make itself seen as being powerful. And that is why it is a weapon of control. How do you control these people? Is by telling them what is right and what is wrong. And by so doing, it continues to perpetuate itself, the myths and misconceptions, the teachings, the dogmas. So I think that hijacking morality is a way to legitimize itself in the society. And it's also a way to legitimize its claim to power. Yes, because religion is not all about belief. It's a political ideology, it's a social ideology. It's right.
A control mechanism.
This is how best. Yeah, it's a control mechanism. It tells you this is how best to organize. This is whom you have to elect. There is always that dictatorial tendency. So that is why, and it must hijack what people regard as right and wrong for it to really have its way. So, and that is why religion is always having issues with atheists or free thinkers, because free thinkers want to get themselves out of that bondage, out of that dictatorship, because they really want to dictate for themselves. So religion makes efforts to dictate for us, dictate for human beings. And that is why it claims to, have the last say when it comes to morality. And that is also the reason why African atheists should begin to question the teachings of religion, the moral teachings of religion, the social teachings of religion. So it is by rebelling against these teachings, challenging against these teachings, that we are going to make progress and that we are going to liberate ourselves. Because, you know, I want to add here that we need what we call liberation theology. And it is that liberation, you know, they have this liberation theology whereby they are trying to use people, let's say in Latin America and all that. So we need to be looking at atheism or liberating ideas and liberating sentiments from the dictatorial control of religion, because that is only what religion has, and which is often violent. So we have to marshal liberation and theology to challenge the dictatorial tendencies of religion.
Yeah. Who was that? There was, I think it was a French philosopher who once said that humanity will not be free until the last priest is strangled with the entrails of the I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it always struck me that this is really a crutch that's this is like, it's almost like it's the last step in our evolution, is to cast these religious dogmas and shackles aside, before we will progress, and you can see it in the progress that we've made as a species just in the last 2 centuries. We've grown in leaps and bounds, and it's ever since the Enlightenment and since people started thinking for themselves that we have experienced this kind of a boom and growth in our thinking and as a species. So let's have a quick recap on some of the work that you do, Dr. Igwe. If you could briefly tell us about the advocacy for alleged witches. I believe that there are various issues of children being abused in these circumstances, and that you are also intimately involved in the work. And then there's also some traditional tests that you could tell us about, just to paint a bit of a background picture for our viewers. Let's just give. I think Dr. Igwe's got a connection.
It's the Nigerian network.
Yeah, okay, please. Yeah. Can you come again now? My connection is wobbling.
Okay, sure. So I was going to say, if you could give us a brief rundown of of the work that you do with the advocacy for alleged witches, and just tell us about the issue of children being accused of witchcraft. Apparently there are various tests, like chicken and crocodile and broom tests that children are being subjected to, and how that impacts, the society at large.
Did you hear the question, Dr. Leo?
No, I can't hear anything from that side.
No.
Yeah, me neither. I think there's a
bit of a.
Yeah, let's just be patient and bear with him for a minute or two.
Okay.
Because when he comes back, I would also want to understand this issue of humanism.
Humanism.
Because humanism and atheism, I see it always together. And I would like to know how Africans view humanism.
Yeah. But I mean, African culture, as I understand it, Bolelang, has got an inherent humanist aspect. I mean, if we only look to our South African context, we have these principles of Ubuntu, where it's very, focused on communities and, the impact that we have on other people in societies at large. But let's we can pose that to Dr. Igwe as well. So, Dr. Igwe, are you with us? There seems to be a delay as well.
The line is still wobbling.
Yeah. So let me fire that question off at you again, and you can just confirm if you get it. I was interested in the work that you do with the advocacy for alleged witches, and the tests that children are being subjected to, those who are accused of witchcraft, and if you could just fill us in about that work that you do.
Well, one of the ways I thought atheists can send a very strong message of hope, light, and progress is
is he frozen for you guys as well?
Yes, he is, and okay.
There we go. He's back. Sorry, we lost you after the first sentence, Dr. Leo.
I'm sorry, the line is bad.
It's okay.
It's okay. We understand.
Okay, I want to remove my video and see whether it can work.
Is it the line or is it the witches trying to
Can you hear me now?
The project against witches in Africa?
Perfect. You're good.
We can hear you, Dr. Leo.
Okay, now I removed the video. Maybe the video might be the problem.
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay, we hear you.
It seems like it's better now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's time to fire those prayers. Speak in tongues. Mr. Bolelang, you want to speak in tongues? Maybe that would bring the stream back on. Could start with the Shakara Baba Sandara Baba Shoto.
Yeah, it's I mean, like this connectivity issues, it always happens when we're trying to.
It can be a nightmare. But while we're waiting for him, I mean, I can just answer that question myself about Africa being is atheism foreign to Africa. Now I will start off with the conversation that I had. Okay, Dr. Leo, if you're back, then I can pack myself to the corner.
Yeah, but I can't guarantee that I'm back. So I would like you guys to keep flowing so that I can just come in and all that, so that I will not be disrupting the conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
We will do that. Like I said earlier, we're very interested to hear about the witchcraft allegations against children and the work that your organization does with that group of people. If you could tell us about that.
Looks like he's gone again.
I'm gonna get this question in if it's the last thing I do on earth. I'm telling you. Oh well.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. We've got him back. Dr. Leo, tell us about the work that. Oh man. In any case, okay. So, I've always, we've recently had this conversation about witchcraft and people being accused of being witches as well in our South African context. And it's still, it's still something that happens, and I've heard of these ridiculous tests that they put people through, where they'll take, a chicken and they'll cut the head off the chicken. If the chicken falls on its back, then the person is automatically a witch.
Wow.
Or they'll throw somebody in a river, and they'll, if the person survives not being eaten by crocodiles, then they're not a witch, and if they die, they're a witch. It's the strangest kind of superstitions that still permeate our culture today. I mean, not to the extent here in South Africa. I mean, it's still in rural communities, it still does happen, but this is more prevalent, as you move north through the continent. And I was very interested to hear about the work that Dr. Igwe does with the advocacy for children who were accused of witchcraft, and what that process is like, and how they go about it. So maybe we can try once again to see if we can get Dr. Leo on audio.
I think before we get Dr. Leo on, because I can 100% relate with Dr. Leo in that I grew up my formative years in Nigeria, and I can I can share a little bit about this child witchcraft thing, because where my dad comes from,
young girls, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Esther, but it's children. It's not like teenage, it's not like 16, 18-year-olds. It's like 8-10-year-old girls are being accused of witchcraft.
Yes. And you know what's the sad part? The sad part is that it is the preachers, the pastors, they're the ones who are accusing these youngsters of witchcraft. You will hear a father has kicked out his 12-year-old, 13-year-old, because the pastor of the church said that child is a witch. And anything the pastor says, anything the preacher says, these people, they would listen to the preacher, they would listen to the pastor and kick out the child, right? What gives these men the authority to accuse anyone of witchcraft? It's what happens to these children after they've been accused. They get kicked out of the home, and so young as well. I mean, I've covered streams on my channel about these young children that have been accused of witchcraft, kicked out of the homes, right? By the pastor. The pastor is the one doing the accusing. It's and to have Dr. Leo actually standing up for these people, I respect that 100%.
Yeah, it's an injustice, like I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but ever since I left religion, whenever I see an injustice, it's sort of, it's like I want to do something about it, and it's weird. Like when I was religious, I was like, oh yeah, God will take care of you, But now that I'm an atheist, I'm like, I've got to take care of, these things, and it always,
it seems going out of religion sort of highlights your responsibility to be to be a good person. Because you don't think of goodness as something that you get because of grace or something. It's something that you have to do. You've got that logic thing that if I don't stop this, there's no Holy Spirit that is going to stop this. And the issue of witchcraft and people being killed, being accused of witchcraft, it's such a scourge. Even here in South Africa, when we look in Limpopo. And the bad part is that it targets the older people. And I noticed that the older people become victims because of dementia. They get confused, and people find them confused there. Then when they see them confused, they say they've been trapped in their witchcraft. That's why they can't remember anything. And that's a very crazy concept.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
So can I just tell you guys a little bit about the atheism being a foreign concept to Africa? I don't think that. I don't think that atheism is a foreign concept. Atheism is a default position.
Yeah.
We all start off as atheists. We are born atheists, right? We're born without a religion. It's when we grow up, right? Depending on the culture you find yourself, depending on the country you find yourself, depending on the family you find yourself.
Environmental issues.
Exactly. And depending on the religion that is, prevalent in that place where you are born, that is the religion you tend to find that people seem to adopt. We tend to adopt the religion of our parents, or the religion that is the major religion around us. And so when I came away from religion, I got people saying, "Oh my goodness, where are you getting your morals from these days? How are you a good person without God?" Right? It's as if I can't be. Oh, and another question I got was, now you don't believe the Bible. Where are you getting your morals from? Then someone said to me, instead of leaving Christianity and just becoming an atheist, shouldn't you just go and shouldn't you worship? Shouldn't you take on the religion of your forefathers, the religion of your ancestors? Oh, I said to the person, I asked the person, oh, and I'm glad you would say that, but can you please tell me what was the religion of my ancestors? These ancestors, what was their religion? And he couldn't answer. I said, so what on earth did my ancestors worship? And it was my next question back to him. So I said, okay, so even if we do find out what religion my ancestors did worship, are you telling me that every one of them had the same religion? Are you telling me that there's not, out of my ancestors, that there wouldn't have been one or two that would have said, no, stop, this doesn't seem right. This isn't quite, adding up to me, right? So, and then also this idea that we are all atheists, right? The religious people, they're atheists too, right? They are atheists. So a Christian is an atheist to all the other religions that they don't believe, right? Well, I've heard that being said, except the one that they believe in. Just we atheists just take it that one step further, and just don't believe in any. So I don't think atheism is a foreign concept to Africa. In fact, I would say that if I know the ancestors, from the lineage where I came from, I would bet money and tell you there would have been a few atheists among my ancestors. I would want to think that.
Exactly.
And with us here, you find that most of the time it's ancestors that are taken as the default religion. for Africans in South Africa. They will say because everybody talks about their ancestors, how they help them, so people should pay allegiance to ancestors. But even there, it is something that they are taught within the culture. They are not born thinking that ancestors are their way to God. And the concept of God, if you question the African God, in my language is Totlo Macholo, in the Zulus they call him Velingangi. When you question the origin, just like you question the same lines, you question the Christian God, people just fall flat on their face because they can't explain where this God comes from and who this God spoke to reveal themselves. So it has been a story that has been told over generations. But those stories, I don't see how African they are. Human beings in all different groups talk about these stories. That is how we have this story of Christianity. So it cannot be African. It can be human nature to create stories that are not true. Because Africa, it's a geographic area.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also it's such a diverse a diverse area. There's to for somebody to say something is un-African, that means they're speaking from Egypt through to Cape Town. So it's really such a vast generalization. I always find it very interesting to have these conversations.
Because the most important question is, what is African? Define African.
Exactly.
And if somebody can come with a list of African, then we can start there and agree and dispute certain things there. Because there are certain things that are qualities that we have. For instance, this brown skin color, you find it all over in Africa. Maybe the coarse hair, you find it in Africa. But beliefs is not something that we are born with. Beliefs is something that we adopt because we are taught.
Yeah. And it's also time that we get new and fresh ideas into into the consciousness and the thinking of people. I really love this idea of the foundation that Dr. Leo created as well, where he started teaching critical thinking to young children. Like children at a very
that's where we should start.
It's a very early stage in their lives. They start learning about critical thinking skills and not what to think, but how to think about things. That's the most crucial aspect of it for me.
Which is important, rather than telling them that there is no God.
Yeah.
Because we don't know whether there's God or not God. We just don't have evidence of a God being there. We can teach them to question things. Don't take anything at face value. Check whether it is like that. And this is how you question things. Don't be afraid because of authority to question things.
Yeah.
And culture plays a very, very detrimental value there, because it tells young people that if an adult says something, that thing is correct because it's said by an adult, which I don't agree with, and which I taught my children that I'm older than you, but my babies, sometimes you know things that I don't know. So if you see me doing something or saying something that you think you are not sure about, that you have to question me, that you know it differently, ask me a question. Then I'll be able to talk to you about it. And we have a good discussion there where my children enlighten me with the new information that they have come across.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And this idea, you got to respect your elders. Even when your elders are doing something wrong, and when your elders get it wrong, this idea of respect, has gone a long way to harm a lot of people. And so the young people also, they can get things right too, and we shouldn't put them down for it. We shouldn't say because we're older and they're younger, and they've got to be useless, they've got no clue. And also this idea in Africa, the culture, you find that they'll say, oh, this is how we did it in my time, this is how we did it, as if the way we did it was right.
Way
As if
back.
the way
As if there's no continuous improvement in life.
Exactly. As if the way
Why
we
should
did
an
it.
African be destined to arrested development? Say, if they were like this when we were born, continue like that. And when your children are born, tell them that my ancestors were like this, be like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's something illogical there, and it has nothing to
Absolutely.
do with Africa. It has to do with a way of thinking where you have allegiance to culture rather than how can I put it? Rather than improving your culture, that your culture becomes the best there is. If people can have a culture of improvement and a culture of debates, arguments, and coming up with best ideas and testing ideas, that's a culture also.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with just adopting that culture instead of saying
Absolutely.
things were done like this? We are not wearing what we were wearing, 500 years ago.
Yeah.
We are not eating what we were eating 500 years ago. We don't even stay in houses that we used to stay 500 years ago. And why should we think like we thought 500 years ago? So there's nothing African and African.
There were two things I would have loved to hear Dr. Igwe talk about, but I might as well just speak on them. The first one was this the rise of the Islamic fundamentalists in Nigeria.
It's a big issue and a big problem.
Yes, blasphemy. Especially the case of that young lady, the young Christian lady, Deborah Samuel, who very, very young, she was in the university. Sorry, she was in college. And as part of her college work, they set up a WhatsApp group. This WhatsApp group, the Muslims in the group started to put their Islamic propaganda in the group. And this young lady said, please, can you keep this WhatsApp group free of religion? Can we just leave it only for what it's designed for? Right?
Yeah.
And
I relate to.
Absolutely. And of course, the Muslim, the ones who were doing this thing, they weren't happy, right? And they said they're trying to warn her, and she said something. They were trying to to threaten her, and she said something along the lines of, who cares about, they were trying to say, oh, but our prophet this, our prophet that, our prophet. And she said something along the lines of, oh, who cares about your prophet? Like my Jesus, my God will protect me. I'm not terrified by your prophet. That was it. That was all it took. And these people went for her, and she died a barbaric death at the hands of these people. And today her killers are still free. There's still no justice at all. So I wanted to hear Dr. Leo speak on this issue, and also the issue of Mubarak. Mubarak Bala.
And before you pass that one, did you notice that even the imam that was against that attack during the time that it was on the news, he condemned it, but quickly flip-flopped.
It wasn't the imam. It wasn't the imam. It was what's his name? Atiku.
What was the man?
Atiku is he's a big politician, and right now he's trying to run for presidency. He's trying to become president.
Oh, it's a politician.
One of the presidential aspirants right now. So when he came out and condemned this act, trust the Muslims to come on, and they said, oh, you want us to vote for you, right? You really want us to vote for you? You better take. Oh, he took it down immediately. There was hardly any. And this is where, for me, when you talk about moderate Islam, the moderates.
There's no such thing.
The moderates. Everyone just went quiet. Everyone just, wanted nothing. 24 lawyers, 24 pro bono lawyers came out and said, because they arrested the two men. They arrested the two men two men. There were more than two, but they arrested two. 24 lawyers were prepared to fight for these two men because they said they have every right to fight this blasphemy. When you blaspheme against the prophet, they are in the right to fight. And so, absolutely crazy. And, for us, we can see.
When you say they have the right, does it mean the prophet is useless? Because if he needs people to fight for him, and if Jesus needs people to fight for him, or God or Allah needs people to fight for them, what use are they? How can they protect us if they need us to fight for them?
It's always men telling you what the gods want. I find that very funny. And
protecting.
Yes. On that note, I just got a message from Dr. Igwe. He said he just apologized for his connection is not playing ball tonight. So, we've got to maybe set something up at another time or something when his connection is much better. Yes. But this is this is an issue that I always find so interesting, is that it's always the men speaking on behalf of the gods, that only proves to me that religion is a big con job. It's like the person that can be the most convincing, can tell the most convincing vision or dream they've had, or I walked through a valley and God spoke to me or sent an angel, and it's strange, it's
good storytellers.
The storytellers, exactly. It's like the person who can tell you the biggest lies, the one that ends up with a mainstream religion, by the sounds of it.
So
Joseph Smith.
Can I ask both of you, since I was asked the question? So why didn't you both go back to the religion of your ancestors?
No, I don't have a problem with Christianity. I don't have a problem with Islamic religion. I have a problem with the concept of God. The concept of God, I cannot get my head around it. There's something missing. And that is the problem that I started having from age 14, to try to understand, where is this God that you are telling me about and that we are working so much about? Because I come from a religion where we spend 5 hours every week in church. And on top of that 5 hours, I had to go and preach again. So we used to spend a lot of time there. And also it tells me who should be my friend. How should I wear? And in that, I say, where's God? I hear you telling me these things, but where's God? Why is he not talking to me? Why, when I pray to him, he doesn't do exactly what I ask. So I've never had a problem with Christianity or with Islam or with whatever religion, even the African religion. I don't have a problem with that. I've got a problem with God. And if they're based on God, then they become, what do you call these people that die in war, but they were not the targets?
Collateral damage.
Yeah, they're just collateral damage.
So, but you didn't tell me the religion of your ancestors. Because how on earth are we supposed to know what the religion of our ancestors was?
They were animists. They were animists. They would use things that are there, rocks, mountains, rivers. They would use animals, because every clan where I come from has an element that belongs to that clan, and they hold that animal holy. All those things are things that are designed by people. They are clear in my culture about their religion. It's not something that is lost. There are people who still practice it, but now there are people who call it demonic, even though they don't know a demon. They've never seen a demon. I've never seen a demon myself.
You know, this is where I struggle with this idea that these borrowed religions have come, and the religions that were local to the African people have been done away with, because now we have taken on Jesus, we've taken on Allah, but our local gods, Obatala, Shango, all the other ones, now they are now demons. They are now anyone who worships these are called demon worshippers. Now, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any deities. I don't believe in, the supernatural realm. But I would rather the African worships a God that looks like him. I would rather the African worships a God that, if they want to worship, let them worship something that is local to them, something that looks like them, something that they created for themselves. They can relate.
But I've got a problem with that, Esther, because
I know you got a problem with the
now they're
concept.
busy saying Jesus was African. Huh?
Oh goodness, Jesus was African.
That thing is
where was Jesus from? Where was Jesus from? From Ibadan or from Lagos?
I don't know, but there's that movement now that says the Bible was written by Africans, Jesus was African, and whatever. I don't care about that. If it talks about God, I've got a problem with God, not whether the Bible comes from which race or what. My problem is the story, not who wrote the story. It could have been written by a magician, or written by my father, or written by somebody that I hate. I don't care. That story doesn't tally.
No, it doesn't.
And I've got a problem with the story.
And also the fact that these religions were used to perpetrate a lot of evil. I would not sit here and tell you that Christianity it was Christianity that brought slavery. But I will say that Christianity was used as a tool in slavery. Christianity has
they were complacent.
Of course.
If you are interested in seeing the harm that religion does, whatever flavor of religion you present to us, just come to the African continent and you will definitely get firsthand experience of how it just degrades the human experience and just enforces all these stereotypes of that we've tried and fought so hard to overcome. That don't get me started on this road, because I always like to ask people, can you tell us what has white Jesus done for Africa and Africans especially? and you can listen to the sound of one hand clapping because there's nothing. The continent has been exploited. People have been enslaved and taken away from their country, and it's, but Jesus loves you. He loves you.
Oh, no, thanks. No, thanks. No, yeah. Jesus love for me. Now, this is a question I want to ask both of you. I've been asked this question. I've been asked, well, some people believe that there are still a few real prophets about. There's still a few quotes and unquotes real prophets who are they're serving the one true God and doing the work of the one true God, right?
Yeah.
So
which God?
What are your thoughts that are there wait, let me ask the question that in Africa, what is the percentage of real pastor, preacher, prophet? What do you think that percentage would be?
How do I show zero?
Yeah,
because this
zero.
I don't want this to appear like 3.
Okay.
0.
But
that was exactly my answer to 0.
Yeah, but I've been anointed. I've been anointed by this by the Spirit.
Self-anointed. Because the name pastor, prophet, and whatever they use is the same as fraudulent.
Yeah. But it's funny how this is another aspect of our culture, is that we revere people in authority, and that name, pastor, reverend, prophet, whatever, it comes with certain baggage, like it comes with a certain baggage of respect. So people are automatically expected to respect a person in that position, and that that we can only expose the charlatanry that these guys do here in Africa. I mean, like, from the way that they are, it's just a money-making business at the end of the day. They're selling, it's like the church selling indulgences to people in the Middle Ages. It's crazy.
One of the positions that women would like to find themselves in is to be a wife of a pastor. They aspire to be that.
In Africa,
that's an achievement.
Exactly. The profession of a pastor is more respectable than that of even doctors, lawyers, policeman. Oh, policeman is at the bottom of the scale. No, seriously, you will ask, go to, say, like in Nigeria, you ask people, what do you want to become when you grow up? And you hear things like, I want to become a pastor. Right? Instead of one being a doctor. People, and this is where people who go to the hospital, they've been treated by the doctor, will come to church on Sunday and come and thank God. Then the doctor who has worked on them, they don't bother. I, for one,
they disappear into the background.
I, for one, I don't know why this is a big struggle for me. A religious doctor, someone I've seen pastors who are also medical doctors, right? Who are so on the weekends they function as at the role of a pastor, and during the week weekends they are pastors, and during the week they are medical doctors. I don't know. I struggle to wrap my head around that, because in Nigeria, for example, doctors pray before they do surgery. No, seriously. They will start with prayers. Them and the anesthetist, that's one word I can never say. Anesthetist, that word, right? The anesthetist,
we are the same.
The help, the people who help in the theater room. Everyone, before they start, will gather together, hold hands, and pray before they start. So if anything goes wrong, it was God. It was God. It was the will of God. They would tell the patient's family that we tried our best, but God, they will now insert the God somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So you said that they've got a scapegoat, so there is a benefit.
No, not just
you don't take full
They've
responsibility.
There you go. They've got an out in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's crazy. So guys, what is the solution? What is the solution to this? Is it as simple as teaching our children how to think and not what to think, or do you guys think
That's a big one?
Yeah.
That's a big one. It's happening in the background. It must happen in a big way in schools, but I don't think it's going to be an easy journey to get into schools, because we see the fundamentalist in religion also pushing to go back to schools. In America, I think they are winning. I see them trying to influence Africa, so they will be coming here. So we just have to find ourselves normal, talking about what we think, even when people try to make us feel guilty that we are militant, we are antisocial, all those sort of names that they mention when you become yourself. I told myself that I'll just live, and anything that comes to my mind, I won't filter it. So I've decided to be like that. And I noticed that more and more people are starting to understand me, but they don't do it on my social media. They usually do it in my inbox. Which is sad.
So Dr. Leo started this awesome thing, which he wrote a curriculum for primary schools, teaching critical thinking. In my opinion, that's fantastic. Can you imagine teaching the young mind about critical thinking, right? How to know what's good and what's bad, and knowing and asking these questions at primary school stage. You're breeding people that will grow up to use these skills in their everyday life, right? Where you can't go wrong for using your critical thinking skills. In
fact, moving them from good and bad to valid and invalid.
Valid and invalid, yes. And also for me, okay, so I'm not in primary school, so I can't unfortunately learn from Dr. Leo's curriculum, right?
There's still a girl in you.
A girl.
Deep down.
This girl is getting old.
I think a lot of wisdom comes with age, because if I reflect on some of the horrible ideas I held as a youngster, I think we should be grateful. But guys, we're about to bring it wrap it up to an end here. I think we can all agree on the mission of this initiative that Dr. Leo has started. It's very important for us to, inject that little bit of rational thinking into the younger generation. Otherwise, this disease that is, bad thinking that comes from religion is just going to keep on, perpetuating through the next generations. And it's really a pity, that Dr. Leo's internet connection wasn't playing along, because really an inspiration to speak to and just to get some insight into somebody who's given this really a lot of thought and who has some very clear solutions and options to present to people, to better humanity.
That's always the next time.
Yeah, it's always the next time. Closing thoughts, guys?
My closing thoughts.
Well,
my closing thoughts would be is we need to keep flying the flag for atheism. We need to normalize atheism, and as Africans, our voices are very very important in the grand scheme of things. I speak as I'm half Nigerian, but I speak on behalf of the Nigerian atheists. The Nigerian atheists are a very small number, very, very small, but that number is growing. That number is growing because the ones who are stepping out of their comfort zone and speaking up and putting out content and putting their faces out there, putting their voices out there, and just allowing themselves to be the face of a very unique set of people. I couldn't commend these people more than I have already. And I'm a face, I'm a representation. If a 40-something-year-old woman didn't know how to do YouTube, didn't know how to do all these things, but at least I'm somewhere. I'm getting there, and it doesn't stop. It's only the beginning. The flag of atheism, we keep on flying, and we keep on having these conversations.
Yeah. Well, I say, African, you are not cast on stone. Go out, define yourself, Africans. The world is an oyster. You can conquer this world by coming with new ideas. Don't allow to be held back.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys.